Tonight, we're going to have the opportunity to listen and be a part of some amazing conversations. I once read a book that said the conversation is the relationship. And as I thought about the reality of how these conversations have the opportunity to impact my life, it caused me to think even more about how we navigate conversations and ones that are oftentimes difficult to have. Some time ago, I was involved in a conversation, you might call it a crucial conversation, and I came to that conversation with the sole focus of wanting to be understood. And that's what we oftentimes most do. We want to be understood in our conversations. And as I was sharing, I realized midpoint through that conversation that I actually wasn't hearing the words that were being spoken to me. Because all I was looking for in that person's responses was to hear if they actually understood what I was saying. And when I got down to the bottom of what am I looking for in this conversation? Am I hoping that we will become a bridge? Am I hoping that there will be some restoration or healing or resolution? Well, I thought that I was, and I knew that I was, but my whole approach was wrong. Because the way we approach conversations very much is indicative of our views, our opinions, our religious beliefs. Everything in our past shows up in our present moment. So before you even open your mouth, just think about it. You're at the place of an impasse because two people have very different past. And if I wanted to get around this reality that we had two different pasts, but we're dealing with a very present phenomenon, I had to allow myself not just to listen to the person on the other end for the sake of being understood, but to understand what they were saying and understanding how they were saying based upon their life experiences, based upon their pain, their brokenness, their culture, their religious belief. All of that impacts how they process information and also how they communicated it. And so when I de-weaponized the words that I was hearing, which was causing a bit of a rise within me, I started to understand for a moment that, Ebony, perhaps the way you're hearing this is being filtered through the lens of your experience and not theirs. In order for us to seek to understand versus seeking to only be understood, we have to recognize that our desire to be understood has to be sacrificed for the sake of understanding. And in order to sacrifice our desire to be understood for the sake of understanding, we have to intentionally show up to conversations believing that I am going to learn something different because the person that is in front of me is different. Tonight, you're going to be challenged to not just seek to be understood by the various voices that you will hear, but I ask you to actually seek to understand the person on the other end. Don't listen for the cue words or the signal words of what seems right to you, but listen to the truth of their experience. Because what's indicative in all of this is that you have a truth and I have a truth, but somewhere in that truth is the truth. And Jesus allows us to get to the center where there is the truth. And in the truth, there is the merging of two opinions. There is the come, let us reason together. There is this understanding that in order for me to get to the other side, I have to be willing to understand and see something from a different point of view. So the choice is ultimately yours because yes, the conversation is indeed the relationship. You can either lead with wanting to be understood or you can posture yourself with wanting to understand. And if you're opting tonight to posture yourself with wanting to understand, you will accept the fact that everything that you see and hear may not be factual. And everything that your mama or your grandmother or your father or your best friend taught you could just be wrong. That in the very presence of any conversation, your past will show up. But it's up to you to sacrifice that past for the sake of the future. Our world demands that we do that. Our faith in Jesus demands that we sacrifice. And Jesus modeled the sacrifice of understanding in the very eminence of himself. And when you think about the reality that Christ nailed to the cross every misconception, every form of doubt, every false belief, and even disunity, you understand that the cross that you're choosing to pick up and carry tonight is the very same cross that sacrifices within you everything that would cause there to be disunity and difference. So again, the moral of the story here tonight, as you listen to everything, is to seek to understand versus only desiring to be understood.
Man, thank you so much, Ebony. Man, wasn't that awesome?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was some serious fire going on. Yeah. Ebony's my sister from New York City, and man, I'm thankful to have you guys here, man. We got Orlando in the house, OKC, SoCal,
Let's go.
Dallas, Texas now, by way of Minnesota. Man, how you guys feeling tonight? Upper deck, how we feeling?
Feeling good. Feeling good.
Yeah. We're ready to go. We're excited.
It's been real, it's been good, but I just want to talk about this because we're getting into this kind of head section, and man, as leaders, and I would just call it out, like you guys are leaders in a generation. Yeah. You have a voice, but I would say like we're also all trying to find our voice.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the anxiety of a moment like this, and specifically like the pressure to say the right thing. And then sometimes because we feel that pressure, we don't say anything.
Yes.
So can somebody talk about some fears and anxiety you felt in the midst of this kind of like political division, racial division, injustice? Like, anybody willing to be real here? Come on.
I think we're just living in times that feel dicey. Like everything feels risky and our words feel risky, exactly what you're saying. And I think for me, it's also this like, this feeling of like, man, I don't want to misrepresent God. Like I just don't want to misrepresent his word. And so there's that tension. So absolutely feel like the anxiety, the pressure. And I think that's where we just get to rest, knowing that God's sovereign. And I just will not have the perfect words to say 24/7. And so I'm going to try my best to serve faithfully. And then beyond that, there's grace. And when we don't have grace in the conversation, we're missing it. So like out on cancel culture, because we're missing the grace of the gospel.
True.
Yes, that's so good. Anybody else? Tell me about Chaz. What have you been feeling in this time? I mean, here you are, you're a black man, you're a leader, you're supposed to be funny. This isn't funny.
Right.
This isn't funny.
That's been a major point of tension for me because on my platform in particular, I think everybody is called to serve differently. An analogy that I like to use is like, restaurants serve different types of food. If you go to, I don't know, a chicken restaurant and they start forcing you to eat vegetables, you're gonna be upset. Like you went there for chicken.
Like Raising Cane's. If Raising Cane's is like,
I didn't know if we could do like a brand name drop. That's why I didn't say
that's true. Yes.
But I know that one of the main things what God has really gifted me to do is share his joy with people. And it's difficult to navigate when knowing that there are these discussions that need to be had that are extremely heavy. And when people come to my page and are expecting to laugh, but see me talking about death and the value of a human life, regardless of what anybody's done, it's difficult. It's just really difficult to navigate.
Yeah, and the value of a life from birth to grave, right? And I think that's the thing. There's these divisions that are existing right now. Grayson, what about for you, man? I mean, why are you here tonight?
I'm here to learn, to grow. You know,
awesome.
I'm married to a multiracial woman. I'm going to have multiracial children. And as their future father, I want to equip myself with truth to help raise my kids up in a world that's healed and whole. I mean, we have to be a part of the change. I mean, we have to be proactive. I think Christians that just take a seat, that's pretty dangerous. I want to take a stand. I want to grow in my understanding.
And I think that's something we can really model for people, hopefully, that are watching, is that we're here and maybe some people see you as a leader, right? And we're here saying, man, like, I don't know exactly what to say. Like, if you feel that way, then like, welcome to the club, right? Like, this isn't about like knowing all the perfect way, but like saying nothing isn't an option. And also, if you're always just ramming truth down people's, just come on, I'm going to tell you what's right. It's like, man, that's not the posture either. And so like, we got to understand. Luke, what's it like for you, man? It's your birthday too. Happy birthday!
Hey, I think I really just agree with what everyone has said so far, but at the end of the day, I'd rather stumble a little bit underneath the weight of the conversation than act like it's not there at all. And so as people that are here, not only trying to, I think, represent a generation, but also trying to accurately represent God, we want to be able to come into this conversation with grace. And there's a lot of us, I think, that are feeling like, oh my gosh, am I going to say the wrong thing here? And like people are just going to be mad all the time. It's like, people are kind of mad already. So it's like, let's just navigate this together. And that's what we want to do as graciously and as accurately as we possibly can.
Well, and I think even hopefully there's some positive peer pressure that can happen, right? Like amongst ourselves and each other to be like, man, like God's given you a voice, right? Like he's given you a platform, like let's be bold. Because if we're always trying to do what will make everybody happy, then we're never gonna do anything. Because it's, man, if people just do what makes me happy, like most of the time, like what makes me happy is like it's either dumb stuff or it's so superficial or whatever. And it's like, man, I need to hear some truth sometimes. Jeanine, I know this is like a wrestle for you, and then I'll throw
Well,
it
I was
back.
just gonna say quick, like, I mean, it's Galatians 1:10. Like,
Yes.
are we living for the approval of man or of God?
Yeah,
Yes.
true,
Let's go.
true.
And so
Yes.
I love what you said.
Especially when all of us want to have influence.
Totally. Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Talk about it for you. What's this journey been like for you? Because I know you got this massive following, and people look to you for positivity or fitness.
Yeah.
And yet you're like this person,
Yes.
right? You're not just like a brand.
Yes.
Like there's Jeanine the person who loves Jesus and is trying to love well.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's been a little bit debilitating as well, because I mean, I'm also multicultural, and I am trying currently right now to learn more about that as well. What does it mean for my own culture? How can I love other cultures and learn more about that? And it's been like, I'm honestly really thankful for this space that's happened in 2020. It's taught me so much. It's humbled me so much. I've had to really look into myself and be like, where do I have error? Where do I need to grow? Where do I have pride? Where do I have ignorance? And I'm sure I still have a lot more. And that's why I was really thankful for this, because, you know, as uncomfortable and scary as it was, I was like, I need to do this. I need to be bold. I need to use my voice. I need to learn more and be willing to listen to other people with different backgrounds. And I'm just really thankful for tonight, because I think it's really going to make an impact.
Yeah. Well, okay. Closing thoughts here. My Unique, Rashawn, what are you guys most looking forward to tonight?
I think the hard conversations, because you don't hear it all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy for people to just post things, you know, on Twitter or on Instagram, but it's different to, like you were saying, like listen to the dialogue of other people for once, because so many people are so stuck with their like thinking, and it's like that's it. But it's like when you take the time, just like Ebony was saying, to really understand someone else's perspective and point of view, and that's where it starts to like bridge that gap of unity of like, I may have a different view, but I value you as a person, and I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Love that. And I think for me personally, I'm a big unity guy, but I think one of the big things that I've been missing for so long, I've been trying to figure out a way, how do we unite the church, all the denominations, how do we unite the world?
Yeah.
But God's been taking me back to this place like, first, the unity needs to start in your own heart and in your own home and whoever you're leading. And then from there, the revival will spring out. So I'm just praying that this could be just the beginning, start of that conversation.
Yeah. Well, and I think the unity starts with we have a common enemy, right? And it's not the people on the other side of the political aisle.
Each other.
It's not the protesters or rioters, right? It is Satan himself. He's coming to steal, kill, and destroy. And as those who are following Jesus, like, man, we're uniting to say, man, let's bring light in this dark world.
Yeah.